Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the English translation of the Majlis of Hazrat Maulana Qamar Uzzaman Saheb Damat Barakatuhum, which took place on the 17th of Zulqa'dah 1445, corresponding with the English date 26th of May 2024. Hazrat Wala starts off this Majlis by reciting the ayat of the Quran Majid, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Hazrat Wala is saying there's a little time and I would just read a little. Allah Ta'ala give us the tawfiq and the hidayat of imbibing, rather He bless us with these talks, making amal on it of the Buzurgan-e-Deen, their halat, their spiritual states and conditions, their kayfiyat. Now these type of kayfiyat, halat, etc. are not specific with the Buzurgan-e-Deen. They are not specific with them. Rather, it can be in any time and for any person, in any age and era. So the halat and the spiritual conditions, from your side you may destroy them. However, in amat, from the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always there. There will be no change in it. Allah is ever present. Allah is ever ready to bless you with the kayfiyat, these halat, etc. Hazrat Tanvi rahimahullah used to say that in the past people used to make lots of mujahada and sacrifice, and then they were blessed with something, they would achieve something. But now, just with a little type of mujahada and a sacrifice, a person will achieve. Because look at the time, the day, the era, the time of fitna, the age of negligence. If a person is just sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a moment, it will be more weightier, rather it would wipe out thousands of years of ghaflat. Allah ta'ala give us the tawfiq. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to read from this kitab abundantly, Al-Bunyanul Mushayyad. Now, regarding the author, when he personally travelled and came to Medina Munawwara, and he came in front of the graveside of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidina Ahmad Rifai, what did he say? Ya Jaddi, O my grandfather, Assalamu alaikum, and he presented his salawat and salam to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying that in the past he would send it spiritually. He was not there in person. Now he has come personally. Banafse Nafis, I have come into your presence. Stretch your hand so that I make salam with you. And at that time, this miracle became apparent not only to him. Allah Ta'ala showed it to thousands of people who were present there. This is the personality whose kitab we are reading from. Now, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab had great affinity with this kitab. Now Allah Ta'ala bless us with the halat and kayfiyat as well. These. Now, some great, reliable people of ilm speak about the khanqa of Sayyidina Ahmad Rifai. They would say that 10,000 people used to gather there to listen to his talks. Hazrat Wala is saying, today who wants to listen? Who is prepared to even listen? Is there anyone to read? Etc. Nevertheless, all these people who would come, he would feed them, he would see to their accommodation, he would give them to drink, etc. Allah Ta'ala turned the attention of the wealthy towards him as well as of the destitute. Allah Ta'ala together with that gave him that type of wus'at that he could entertain them and he could see to their eating and sleeping needs, etc. Allama Ibn Jawzi says that it was the 15th night of Shaban when I made myself present at the khanqa of Ubaidah, referring to the khanqa of Sayyidina Ahmad Rifai. On that night, 100,000 people gathered to listen to his talks and to his majlis. To which talks? To the same talks that I am reading out to you now. He would see to their sleeping needs, he would see to their food and drink as well. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab towards the end was very, very meticulous about the accommodation, feeding, drinking, etc. of the people, the visitors who would come. He would go on to say to me specifically, Hazrat Wala is saying that people spend their money. They come here with transportation, kiraya, they pay this and pay that. They do their sacrifice. Can we not even give them something to eat? And then he would say to me to see to the needs of the mehman. He even said to me that, listen, this place here, referring to under the pillow or whatever it was, that you should take money from there however much you need. Now, Hazrat Wala is saying, Allah Ta'ala more than the wealth of the dunya, bless us with the wealth of the deen. Now, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to say that we understand this person to be khushk or maybe dry or somebody who was very hard, etc. But he would go on then to quote his halat regarding how he would weep, and he would say, but look at his hal. Is there anyone that can adopt his hal? Is there anyone that can cry like this here, etc.? So, nakir, to make an objection, etc., kuch ne kuch, some and some amount is carried out by the Maulvis. Today there is a great need for it so that people can understand what is actually jaiz and what is najaiz, what is the permissible and what's the impermissible. So, in the Khanqa of Ubaidah, 100,000 people gathered. Today there is no one to listen to these talks. Nevertheless, we continue. His akhlaq and his habits was actually an example of the habits and akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Allah Ta'ala blessed him here already with so much. Can you imagine what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless him with in the akhirat? He goes on to say, Sayyidina Ahmad Rifai, that ajizi, this expression of helplessness, inkisari, lowliness, and absolute humility in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, I did not find anything more greater in this path of suluk and tasawwuf in reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than that of tawazu and humility. Man tawada'a lillah rafa'ahu Allah. Hazrat Wala is quoting an example of Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Sahab. No, it is that of Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab. That when he was in the Khanqa of Hazrat Tanvi, now in the initial stages, everybody comes there and everybody is equal. You make mehnat and you try to, under the supervision of the Sheikh, are traversing this path, trying to reach closeness and get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So everyone there is the same. So what is it? He says that people would come and yell at him, scold him, etc. And then he would go on to say that I have come here to annihilate myself and to tolerate the islah, reprimand and scoldings of my peer and my sheikh Hazrat Tanvi. Listen, if you people also scold me, I've come here with that intention, so it is fine. Hazrat Maulana Abdul Bari Nadwi said to Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, tell me, did you stay in Tanabawan? Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab went on to say, I only stayed there. That's the only place I went to and that's where I stayed. He went on to say, but I did not see you there. And then Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab addressed us, referring to our Hazrat Wala is saying, that he addressed us saying that I didn't go there to show people that I am there. But you know what? I seen him. I even told him that I seen you. जिसने मिटाया अपना नाम और निशा हफ्त कलीम का बना सुल्तान. The person who humbled himself completely and totally erased all signs of himself completely. Nobody knew when he came, when he went, who he was. Allah Ta'ala granted that person the greatest fame. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted that person the greatest acceptance. Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Saheb, when he used to go to his Sheikh, Hazrat Maulana Badar Ali, Maulana Badar Ali used to say that, tell me, did you people see anybody who has annihilated himself as much, or who has lowered himself or humbled himself as much as Ahmad? Referring to Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Saheb. Meaning that's why he has reached this type of level. मैं अपना नामो निशा मिटा बेटा शोहरा उड़ा दिया मेरा किसने. You know, I humbled myself completely. I hid myself. I wiped out and erased all traces and signs of myself. I just wonder who spread this name and fame of mine all over the show. It is written, look at it, have a look. Hazrat Tanvi was making safar and he passes now by Takia Rai Bareli, and at that time the Buzruk has a dream in which he is told that invite Hazrat Tanvi to the town, and that word went around. The Buzruk leaves with this intention. He finds Hazrat Tanvi travelling past the place, and then he invites him and he calls him. Hazrat Tanvi at that time said, I don't want this year, especially with this looking at the background here, I don't want this type of a thing that so many hundreds and thousands of people gather because of me, and that was towards the end of his life. Then too he denied that. Now, all of this year, shouldn't we listen to these type of talks? Shouldn't we speak about these type of talks? Hazrat Wala is saying, from the age of 17, I never missed one majlis and spiritual discourse of Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahib. Once a week, we used to go home on a Friday, and where our place was, by Sahib, Maulana Qari Mubin Sahib, from there it was 2 miles where Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahib was, and in between was the house of Mauli Ammar. I mean, his father, Mauli Abdul Majid. These people would come and water was given. They would come to this place to drink water, etc. But nevertheless, here just to say that we used to go home on a Friday. And then Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahib said, what is this here? On a Friday, when all the ulama come from Mo and Koparganj, and I give my waz here, you people are not present. We were son-in-laws. He went on to say, but why do you people go? And then we said, like Hazrat, we go home and, we get ready, we bath and this and that, whatever it was. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahib just had to say that. That ishara and indication, subtle indication, was more than enough. After that day, there was no day that we left on a Friday, despite that being one day of a break to go home. I never ever then went home. Allah Ta'ala give us the tawfiq and the hidayat of making akhs, adopting and imbibing the teachings of these Buzurgan-e-Deen. So the akhlaq and adat of Sayyid Ahmad Rifai was actually a namuna, an example of the adat and akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So he goes on to say that I studied and I understand well this in this path. There was nothing that proved to be greater for the progress of a person than that of ajizi, inkisari, and fana'iyat, annihilation of oneself, humbling, humility oneself to the greatest extent. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahib's appearance was not वो ज़्यादा वजीह नहीं थे. It was not that appealing, so people would just understand him to be an ordinary person, and they would go on to scold him, etc. And then he would go on to say that, listen, I appreciate that, listen, I will even tolerate that if you scold and reprimand me, because it is the means, it's mu'een for my taraqqi. It is helping me in making progress. Now there's many waqi'at of the fana'iyat and annihilation, the tawazu, humility of Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to come to our place, and then he would deliver his talk at night. In the morning, people would be so enthusiastic to meet him, but they would come to find out that in some portion of the night, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab just left. He was either gone to this place, that place, or another place. His student days were so amazing. At that time, what type of poverty he underwent, but he would make imamat at the station masjid there of Darul Deoband. And he would leave at Asr time. At that time, the food in Darul was not yet ready. So then he would just suffice on taking the roti, and then he would leave. When he would read, he would perform his imamat, etc. And travelers, because it was the station masjid, would come and go, due to which many times he landed up sharing his food with the travelers there. Rather, on many occasions, he even went hungry. He would take that roti, just put some salt on it, and that was his food. Sayyidina Ahmad Rifai goes on to say that ittibai sunnat, he loved ittibai sunnat, we're reading from that kitab, and he was very averse, rather was there to destroy any type of innovation that came. When it came to a simpleness in his food and his drink, it was to an absolute level. His nature was that of sharam, haya, that was overpowering, his bashfulness. His sadgi was so much that he would just suffice on that clothes that he had. He would go into the river place, and then there, while being in that, he would wash his clothes, then come out into the sun and dry his clothes there, and he would continue like this. This is the personality that we are talking about. In the start, he had the ghalba of ilm and knowledge, but then after that, how Allah Ta'ala then opened the doors of irfan and suluk for him, in which a short time he traversed and completed that path as well. Now, the mujahadat of the Buzurgan-e-Deen were such. We just spoke to you now and told you about Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab in his student days, how he would spend his time, what was his food, etc. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab asked me, initially I just went to him then, that how much of zikr are you making, referring to the Ismezat, and I told him 3,000. He went on to say, but that's for starters. Mu'tadbi, something that we can actually regard and count, is that of 6,000. That of 6,000 Ismezat. Hazrat Maulana Thanvi, it was very common there in his khanka that people would make 12,000 times Ismezat. Allah, Allah. And Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah himself, 24,000 times was the amount that he would carry out the Ismezat. It is then, when you open up that way and clean up that place, your heart in that manner, it is tab Allah Ta'ala aata hai, Allah Ta'ala will come. So, when these great dignitaries and people want to come, how we clear the way and we make arrangements and we do this, that and the other. We follow all protocol and then they come. So if we want to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then to come into our heart, and in our heart is this, that and the other, all these unbecoming things, La ilaha illallah, negate everything. La ilaha, there is no deity, there is none worthy of worship. Even your desires, do not make it your deity by following it. Allah Ta'ala give us the understanding of the tariq and path to Him. Just understand this much, that we are the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is as easy as that. And for the talibin, the true seekers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is not difficult at all. This path is so easy. Somebody says to Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb, Hazrat, I don't find any occasion and time to make zikr. Then he would go on to say, but tell me, how do you find time to make mutala of your kitabs so you can teach? How do you make time to prepare your lessons so that you can teach? For that you find time. For this also you find time, and for that also you find time, but for the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you cannot find time. Create importance for that also. Allah Ta'ala tariq haq samajhne ki tawfiq de. Give us the tawfiq and the hidayat of understanding the tariq haq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, if it's not like that, and if we have an indifferent attitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then also Allah Ta'ala doesn't care. Allah Ta'ala ko koi parwah nahi, la ubali. So Allah Ta'ala in every condition give us the tawfiq and the hidayat of making His itaat and inqiyad, following Him and obeying Him, whether what halat is upon us, whether it is that of means and riches, or it is that of poverty and destitution. In every hal, we must be attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yahi tariq hai, this is the path. Yahi khanqah hai, this is the khanqah. We need to understand what is the maqasid and what are the objectives of these places, so that we can let it continue. Now, if we let everything continue and we want to maintain everything, but we don't want to keep baqi and we don't want this to remain and continue the silsila of the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then what will ever stay? Everything will be destroyed. Rather, where will that afiyat be? Now let us make dua. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا وأصلح ذات بيننا واهدنا سبل السلام ونجنا من الظلمات إلى النور وجنبنا الفواحش ما ظهر منها وما بطن وبارك لنا في أسماعنا وأبصارنا وقلوبنا وأزواجنا وذرياتنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم بحرمة سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.